So get this, the automotive world's, kind of seeing this like huge shift, and it's coming right out of China. I mean, like when you look at BYD.
BYD.
Yeah, and you compare their performance to like Tesla, but not just like anywhere in China. Like the scale of their lead it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really interesting because it really wasn't that long ago that China's car industry was, well, a little rough around the edges, shall we say.
It's true. Like if you were starting a car company back in the 80s,
right?
You wouldn't look at China, not even top 10. Old factories, the technology was, well, behind.
Yeah.
The cars themselves, I mean, they got you from point A to point B.
Yeah, functional.
But now they're producing enough cars to supply like half the world.
It's incredible. And BYD is really at the forefront of this.
They are.
I mean, their story is like this perfect example of how fast things can change and how a vision, even if it seems crazy ambitious at the time, can completely reshape everything.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're diving deep into today. BYD. You're hearing more and more about them and like their journey from pretty modest beginnings to becoming this global powerhouse. It's fascinating.
It is.
So we've got a ton of info. We really want to cut through the noise, give you the key insights into, how they pulled this off, and more importantly, what it means for all of us.
Yeah. So I guess that raises a question.
Yeah.
How does a company that isn't even in the car business in 1995 become this, force in such a short time?
Right. Okay, so back to 95.
Okay.
BYD starts out as a battery manufacturer.
Okay.
A tough market.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing really flashy.
No.
Just batteries. Now, here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Their founder, Wang Tuanfu.
Okay.
He spots this struggling state-owned defense company called Chinwan Automobile. Most people would just see like a failing business.
Yeah, total risk.
Right. But Wang, he sees potential. So he makes a move. Buys it for 269 million Hong Kong dollars. That gets him 77% of the company. And then he renames it BYD Auto. You can kind of imagine the shareholders like scratching their heads.
Yeah. Not exactly what they signed up for, I'd bet.
Right. Not in the original plan.
No.
But if you zoom out, Wang had this long-term goal to build electric vehicles. And he knew BYD's, knowledge of batteries could be a huge advantage.
PGE.
Right. So this struggling car company, it was actually this like strategic, play to achieve that goal.
He was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
Exactly. Like he's thinking way ahead. And it wasn't just about getting like the factories or the equipment.
Right.
The real prize, often missed, was that auto production license.
Oh, yeah. Back then, forget it. Getting one of those as a new company in China was like impossible.
Taken forever.
Yeah.
If it even happened at all.
Right.
Plus, they get the existing factory set up. Wong can, expand that, repurpose it. So, major shortcut for them.
Totally. Gets them in the game immediately.
Right. But this transition, well, wasn't all, smooth sailing.
So, their first car, what was it like?
Oh, so you'd think a new car company would want to make something, at least decent looking, right?
Yeah.
Their first car, it's called the 316. And it was, let's just say, not pretty.
Okay, not pretty.
Dealers flat out refused to take it. I read one description, it called it hideous.
Oof. Oh, no.
And so Wong, makes this dramatic move. He personally oversees the destruction of the prototype.
Wait, what?
Like smashed it to pieces.
Wow.
Maybe not the best PR move, but it shows, he's serious.
That's wild.
Yeah, so what did they do next? They launched the BYD F3 sedan. Now, this car, it looked a lot like a Toyota Corolla, and it was half the price. They sold over 63,000 in the first year, 100,000 in 20 months.
That's insane.
Right. They found a formula. Familiar design, affordable price. People loved it.
Yeah.
And they do it again. With the F6, looks like a Honda Accord. Then the F0 looks like the Toyota Aygo. This is when the reverse engineering accusations start flying.
Yeah.
People are saying they're just copying designs, making small changes. U.S. consulates are even raising concerns about, intellectual property.
Seriously.
But BYD, they just shrug it off. Wang Tuanfu, he basically says, we're only using non-patented technologies. Fair game.
That's bold.
Right. But here's the thing. While all this is going on with the gasoline cars, BYD is already looking at electric. By 2006, they got this Electric Vehicle Research Institute, and their goal is clear: to be the leader in new energy vehicles. Not just electric cars, but plug-in hybrids, everything.
So even while they're doing well with the gasoline cars, they're thinking long-term. EVs,
Exactly. And Wang Tuanfu makes this wild prediction publicly. He says, BYD will dominate the Chinese car market by 2015 and the world by 2025. And he believed that EVs were how they were going to do it. Leapfrog, the whole gas guzzler market, just go straight to global domination.
That's some serious confidence.
And then, in 2008, they unveiled the BYD F3DM at the Geneva Motor Show, the world's first mass-produced plug-in hybrid.
Whoa.
Game changer.
Totally.
Here, at first, they're targeting, government fleets, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But by 2010, it's available to everyone, especially with the Chinese government offering subsidies to get people buying these new EVs.
So did it sell well?
Not really. Sales were, in the hundreds, not exactly mass adoption. Then in 2009, they show off their first all-electric car, the BYD E6, at the North American International Auto Show.
Okay.
400-kilometer range. That's pretty good for the time.
It is. So what happened? Why didn't we see it here in the U.S.?
Well, the big U.S. launch never really happened. They shifted focus to fleet sales. Taxi companies, government agencies, that kind of thing. So most people in the U.S. couldn't even buy one.
Interesting. So they were still figuring things out, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. But back in China, even with, EVs not quite taking off yet,
right?
BYD Auto is becoming a huge part of BYD overall. By 2009, it's bringing in 55% of the company's earnings.
Wow, they're a serious player now.
Oh, yeah. And then, bam, rapid expansion. New factories in Xi'an, Shenzhen. They're opening R&D centers. Production capacity goes way up. Everything's looking good.
Yeah, but, growing that fast can be tricky.
You're telling me.
There are always challenges.
Good time. So they expand their dealer network.
Yeah.
Like everywhere in China. But too many dealerships, not enough really good models.
Oh, I see.
And a focus on, how many cars they can make instead of how good those cars are.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
And that's what happens. By 2010, dealerships are closing in major cities. They would have made 800,000 vehicles that year, only made 517,000. So what do? They don't give up. They take a step back, reassess, shift focus from quantity to quality.
It's a good move.
Right. Improve the cars, support your dealers, build the brand. They realize, long-term success, it's not just about making a ton of cars.
Smart. Really smart.
Okay, so while they're figuring out the car market,
Yeah.
they start looking at electric buses. Big pilot project with the Hunan government. 1,000 electric K9 buses. 305-kilometer range. Fast charging.
So they're diversifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, 2010, they partner with Daimler to develop electric cars for China.
Daimler. Like Mercedes-Benz Daimler?
Yep, new joint brand. Denza. They show off their first concept car in 2012.
That's huge GE.
It is. Mercedes pulls out in 2024, but BYD keeps going with Denza.
Huh. Interesting.
So then 2013, they launched the Dynasty series. The BYD Can, a plug-in hybrid, is the star. By early 2014, is a bestseller in its category.
They're making good EVs now.
Like really good EVs.
Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. They were getting a lot of help from the Chinese government. Subsidies for new energy vehicles. In 2016, those subsidies were actually more than BYD's profit for the whole year.
Wow. That's a lot of help.
And then, 2017, the government starts cutting back on those subsidies. Sales slow down, profits take a hit. By 2019, Ron Chuanfu is focused on, keeping the company alive.
Reality check.
Big time.
So how do they bounce back?
Okay, so 2020 is a big year for them, a turning point.
Okay.
They go all in on electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Just as everyone else is starting to get interested in, sustainable transportation.
Perfect timing.
Exactly. And their growth, it explodes. In 2020, they sell about 427,000 vehicles.
Okay.
2023, 3 million.
What?
7 times more.
That's incredible.
And in China, by 2022, new energy vehicles make up 27.5% of all car sales, up from just 5.8% in 2020.
Huge jump.
BYD is leading the charge. Remember when Elon Musk said BYD wasn't a threat?
Yeah, I remember that.
I bet he sees things differently now. Then BYD makes a huge decision. They stop making gasoline cars completely. Only electric.
Wow. All in.
Totally. And they hit milestone after milestone. 6 millionth new energy vehicle in 2023. But they don't forget about affordability.
Right.
April 2023, they launched the Seagull under $12,000.
Affordable EV. Nice.
This thing sells like crazy. 2 million units in 7 months. And experts are like, wake up, people. If you're not paying attention to BYD, you're going to get left behind.
It's a wake-up call.
They're expected to enter the U.S. market soon.
Makes sense.
And they're not stopping at cars. They buy an insurance company. Start offering BYD insurance in China.
Oh, wow. They're building a whole ecosystem.
It's wild.
Yeah.
August 2023, 5 millionth new energy vehicle. Wang Chuanfu tells all the Chinese car makers to team up against the foreign competition. January 2024, they launched their own cargo ship, the BYD Explorer #1.
Smart move.
Right. Control their own shipping, especially to Europe. November 2024, 30th anniversary, they make their 10 millionth new energy vehicle, first car maker in the world to do that.
It's amazing.
It's a crazy journey.
Yeah.
20 employees to almost 1 million in 30 years.
Unbelievable.
And this is bigger than just BYD. They're changing the whole EV landscape. EVs are the future, not some niche thing anymore.
Absolutely.
Of course, there are still challenges. Cost is still a barrier in places like the U.S. But a Goldman Sachs report just last March, they said that battery costs are going to keep going down.
That's key.
And battery packs, which are a big chunk of the cost of an EV, they could be just 15–20% of the total cost by 2030.
Wow, if that happens, EVs will be cheaper than gas cars.
And it's not just China.
Yeah.
India's EV market grew by 91% last year. They're even starting to export EVs.
The whole world is changing.
So what does this mean for you? Well, this is just the beginning. As EV costs go down and production goes up, the big question isn't who's selling the most cars right now, it's who's making the rules for the future. And BYD is right there in the middle of it all.
Their story shows how important it is to adapt, have a long-term vision, and embrace new technologies.
Yeah, it's incredible. They started as a tiny battery maker. Now they're this global giant. They did it through acquisitions, learning from mistakes, focusing on EVs early, and expanding like crazy. 10 million new energy vehicles, a huge impact on China, and a growing presence around the world. They're showing everyone that a new company can come in and completely shake things up. And with their focus on making affordable EVs, it makes you wonder, how are the big car companies going to respond? What are we all going to be driving in a few years? BYD is changing everything we thought we knew about the car industry, and that's worth thinking about.
Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. For more detail, you can visit our blog website www.evergreentechtips.com.